country Colorado, hiking, backpacking.
I did a lot of marathons. I was convinced to do some ultras.
Climbing, and I do filming and photography.
I just like the ultras because I love the community. I just think that everybody is so nice, whether they're the first place finishers or, us that kind of mosey along.
Welcome, everybody. Dispatch Radio. We're here with two very special guests. We got Joe Grant, and we've got Anton Krupicka here, also known as Tony to his friends. I've just learned you guys are like best friends.
Yeah,
We are.
Right on. So that's cool. You both live in Boulder. You're known for being kind of self-propelled, ultra running, pretty much any type of self-promotion badasses. You're in newspapers and magazine articles. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you having you out. We didn't come here to talk to you about being celebrities. What we're really interested in is the fact that you guys are just so connected to the sports that you're doing. We've got a lot of people out there that are getting into this ultra running thing. Leadville has been a big topic. We've got Eileen Bloom, by the way, we should mention. Hey, Eileen.
Hi.
And I'm your host, Russ Rizzo. We've been talking about the Leadville 100 a lot. I'm just getting into the topic of pacing. It seems like a really cool way to experience a race without spending a whole lot of money or having to train for 100 miles. So I'm good for 20 with Jonathan Pope. Hello, Jonathan, out there. We're going to get you to your sub 25-hour goal. And Eileen, you're going to be out there as well for the Leadville 100.
For my first 100 miler.
Congratulations. She got in.
Awesome.
That was kind of late breaking news. And I know you were very excited the day after the lottery.
Yes. I'm excited about all the months leading up to it as well.
All right. So a lot of training ahead. And the Leadville 100, Tony, is a race that's special to you. It's pretty much launched your career. You won it when you were a young lad of how old?
23.
Of 23.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that race and how your life changed with it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was back in 2006. It was the first ultra I ever did. And I guess, I mean, I always had confidence that I could do well at the longer distances, but it was certainly a boost to have that confirmed by being able to win it that year. And yeah, it's funny. I mean, looking back 10 years later, it's definitely a race that changed my life because all of a sudden, within this very niche community of ultra running, like you have some notoriety and I had my first sponsor after that race and kind of launched me on this whole, what's become, fortunately for me, I guess, a career path of being an outdoor athlete. But yeah, I don't know. I think Leadville's a great first 100 miler because it's, a relatively easy course, which, it sounds silly. It's still 100 miles, but, you can run a lot of it. There's a lot of crew access. And there's a lot of excitement surrounds it too. For a 100-mile race, there's big crowds, at various aid stations. And so I don't know. I need that kind of energy to kind of like keep me excited and keep going, especially when you're first time around. I think it's sort of nice rather than doing like a more fat ass style 100, I guess.
Yeah. And Joe, have you ever done the Leadville?
I haven't. No.
Well, one thing that you guys both have done are international racing. I know, Joe, you've got something coming up. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I'll be doing the Tour de Géant this September,
right?
Which is in the Aosta Valley in Italy.
Take us through it. What's involved?
Well, so it's a 200-mile race, and
oh my god,
which is a little bit unique in sort of the racing world, certainly. And
Corey's done the Colorado 200.
Nice, yeah, but not so a less common distance. But what's cool about it is just that's the distance around the Aosta Valley. So it uses the.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. You loop the valley using the Alta Via 1 and 2, which are just there, kind of like similar to the Colorado Trail kind of trails. And yeah, it's just a really unique kind of mountain race. Community's incredible. I haven't met really any people that nice outside of like when I went to Japan.
Italy is where it's at for sure. If you want friendly people that are welcoming and can cook a hell of a dinner, go to Italy.
No, it was really, really sort of stand out in that way. Just people just absolutely.
Well, you spent time in South America, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd say more so than South America.
Well, it's just different, you know. I mean, I don't think it's not necessarily comparing. It was just more, people were very welcoming, and it was kind of a noticeable thing. You know,
Those
you
are my people, by the way. If you haven't
Nice.
noticed with the Rizzo. And Joe, when we spoke with you last at the Toad, we were talking about you had done the 14er record of self-propelling your way to all the 14ers on your bike, which is just still kind of blows my mind. But this kind of multi-sport theme has really been something we've talked a lot about on the show. Jason Anton and Wade Morris and those guys have really educated us on this kind of multi-sport idea.
Yep.
Tony, that's something that you're getting into more. Can you take us through? I know you did the Longs Peak Triathlon. I think you hold the record still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, take us through it.
Well, I mean, it's more just kind of an ethic or a style, I guess. Especially with most things in the mountains, but especially in climbing in the mountains, you make up the rules for what you find interesting and satisfying. Because if you don't put some kind of constraint on yourself, then if the point was just to get to the top of the mountain, you could just take a helicopter up there and get dropped off, right? But so it's kind of the way that you get there that's important and what defines the effort. And so the Longs Peak Triathlon is just another kind of like silly game that falls into that category of like, well, we decided that we're going to do it all human powered, door to door, from Boulder, from your doorstep. So you bike up there, you run up to the base of the diamond, you climb a route on the diamond on Longs Peak, run down, bike home. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
no
don't know
big
that
whoop.
much-
And what is it? Would you do it in like 10 hours or something crazy?
906. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. The old
So
record.
just so people that are listening can understand, he got on his bike in Boulder. He biked how many miles?
It's like 40 miles to the trailhead.
40 miles to the trailhead. Went
yeah.
up to the base of the climb, which is how many miles?
Only 4 or 5.
4 or 5 mile
Yeah,
run, and then climb some serious. I mean, for the average human being, it would be technical, difficult climbing. For
Yeah,
you,
I mean,
it's easy climbing.
it's the casual route. It's 510A.
The casual route, 510A, which would be like, a normal climber's just kind of pinnacle. If they only do it once a month or every once in a while, climbing 510A would be a big deal to them. And you're doing it with minimal protection and no big deal.
Yeah, well, I mean, because we're going fast. But the cool thing about it is the diamond is a very striking feature. It's a very sheer face. It's vertical, and you climb to the summit of Longs Peak, which is a 14er, and it's not too many peaks like that really in the United States where you can have a technical alpine climb on a big wall like that and finish, on the summit basically.
And so, what about the picnic up in Jackson Hole? Is that on the radar? Have you done that?
I haven't done that.
All right.
It's just same exact style of outing. Not as hard of climbing, but
and the swim.
and the swim.
There's the swim. What do you guys think about the
yeah.
swim?
So you swim across.
Are
the
you
Jenny
pro
Lake.
swim? No swim? What?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm horrible at swimming. Yeah.
Me too.
I think it's cool. I think it's something I wish I was better at because again, it's just like
Yeah.
if you can swim across a lake, what's more practical than
Well,
that?
And we want to jump into a little bit about injury, but I mean, for recovery, is there anything better than swimming?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't swam.
We'll have to get a doctor.
I haven't
on the
swam
show
for
sometime.
years.
Well, awesome, guys. Well, it's really great to have you on the show. This is kind of just a teaser to get people familiar with Tony and Joe. Love to get you back on the show and kind of hear about what you have coming. For Dispatch Radio, what we have coming is a whole lot of stuff this year. You mentioned we talked about the Leadville race. We're going to be out there and doing some really fun things with that race and having Claire Gallagher on soon. I mentioned the Leadville 100 kind of launching your career. She's kind of in that same boat right now where she just won the Leadville 100.
Definitely.
I'm sure she's starting to get, the sponsorships, coming in.
Yep.
I just saw a film on her that was just spectacularly done. The imagery was amazing by those guys down in New Mexico, Grayson Schaefer and the Tallywag guys. But Tony, what would you tell a young runner like that's just kind of now getting into the spotlight? One, the injury is an interesting piece, I think. But two, also just social media, exposure. There's kind of a spotlight thrust upon you kind of immediately after a race, winning a big race like that. What would you tell a young runner like that?
I guess, maybe two things. First is that when you start having success like that, right now the sport is such that a lot of opportunities open up for you, and it can be difficult to say no to a lot of those in terms of like international travel and that kind of thing. There's definitely a period of time for me where I could have been racing internationally every single month and getting my trips paid for by the race and that kind of thing. that's just not sustainable physically, or certainly not like mentally or emotionally either, I don't think. And it can lead to very short careers, I would say. And then so just try and, maybe if it's what you're interested in, have a little longer term view about it all, and try and keep it sustainable, and don't do more than 100 or 200 miles in a year, that kind of thing. And then second, with what you're saying, like social media and exposure and all that, I think it's hard because we're all like inundated with all this stuff all the time. So it's really easy to think that it makes sense, or it's kind of like the easy thing to just sort of mimic what you see is out there, which can become just sort of numbing, and everyone gets desensitized to the same old cliches all the time. And I don't know. I think it's just important to be yourself, And
So, what does that look like for you?
I don't know.
I mean, because you're out there. I just saw Outside TV. I just saw your entire apartment, and everybody's kind of laughing on social media about how many shoes you own right now.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things where, as a sponsored athlete, like I feel an obligation to my sponsors to say yes to that kind of thing, because the whole point is I'm part of the marketing division of these companies, and you have to sell them.
By
as
the
a
way,
brand.
Quinn, thank you for introing us to Tony and setting this up.
But it's difficult for me because it's not part of my personality to open my apartment to a film crew. I don't know. It's just,
How much tidying up did you do for that?
a significant.
Actually, I should ask Joe. Yeah, what does his apartment normally look like, Joe?
It's
it's variations of what you see in the film. Maybe a little bit.
Variations.
Well, but just like take all the clothes out of the closet and throw them on the floor,
Right?
And then you have what it's
Just
normally
throw everything.
like.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, or like
That's what my closet looks like.
piles of gear just accumulate into mounds everywhere, as opposed to being put away nicely.
Joe, what do you think? Just kind of the about what we're talking about, advice for young runners and this whole kind of social media and need to be seen. It kind of cuts both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think it's more involved than people initially think, in terms of just like, oh well, I can just have a broad following on Instagram and just post photos, and that will be enough to kind of make me sort of successful, and there's it's nearly a reversal of, it used to be very much racing, and it's just like you did the race, and then if you're successful, you would get noticed, and now
that was sort of the only way to get.
That was the only way, and now it's a bit broader platform in terms of
Even though you don't win races, if you're interesting on social media, you.
Well, and if you're putting an effort into representing yourself and your sponsors,
and you're putting sort of value out there in terms of content,
having a message, is that what you mean?
Not necessarily a message, but just I guess communicating something, whatever that is, and just not being I don't know, just being real, and that's it's hard to do that, in that public sphere, because everything's so curated and everything.
Right,
but
exactly, it seems oxymoronic to have like, you have this curated Instagram feed, and what you're supposed to be authentic on that,
Yeah,
right. That does lead to a question that Corey
you guys are good buddies. So
Yeah.
most people probably know you from social media.
They should answer for
primarily.
each other. Yeah.
And you guys have to answer this for each
yeah.
other. What's something that would be surprising about your friend that people wouldn't expect from social media?
Well, basically, I present like a pretty cheery front, I would say, pretty positive.
You're darker
I
than
see what
appearance.
and I'm just kind of an asshole. Like that's
he's
yeah, is that true?
definitely.
In what sense?
It's easy to present yourself as sort of people expect, and that people will just kind of latch on to certain things that you do, and that's kind of what they think that their sort of character is,
Right. So not dissimilar from like a celebrity or a politician, where you walk into a room and you're expected to be a certain persona, and
right. Yeah, it's like you're expected to be like this minimalist runner who runs shirtless all the time and is communing with nature.
Well, I mean, come on. When I met you guys, I gave you a hard time. I asked you where to park your bikes, and even though I knew you were driving, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah. It's sort of like, I don't know. People. Whenever you gain a certain public profile of any kind, people project onto you kind of what they want to see in you, like what they want to be inspired by, which is totally cool. Like that's fine.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that's who you are. And that's something I've just struggled with a lot because you can go to some of these big international races where there's like a huge following of people and they all just kind of like want the selfie with you and think of you as, this barefoot, like bare chested runner. And it's like, it just feels really dissonant thing because it's not like who I am. And
What's interesting is, and you're not going to get away from answering the question about Joe Grant here. But if you can look, I can hold up my phone here. These are my show notes that I texted Corey, and you can see the first thing I put here was image/Agassi. I read if you haven't read Andre Agassi,
it's really good.
Unbelievable book, right?
Yeah.
I listened to it while my wife was in the hospital with our kid about 4 months ago. But for some reason, some of your story reminds me of a little bit about just because of the image thing.
I mean, Joe recommended the book to me for that reason.
Okay, well, there you go. But there were two huge differences in your stories. One, you didn't have an asshole dad that was forcing you to run like Andre was having. He was hitting 1,000 tennis balls a day when he was like 8 years old because his dad made him do it. And two, he hated tennis, and you love running.
No, that's true. That's totally true. Yeah, that was definitely a part that I didn't identify with him. Yeah, he claims like very strongly to have just hate tennis, but no, I love running. I just don't love all the other stuff around it. Like running itself is the best, though. It's just simple and clean and pure, and yeah.
So now tell us, what don't we know about Joe?
Let's see. I think it's almost the opposite. Like it's kind of like a yin yang thing. Like with Joe, I feel like on social media he presents himself as a very serious,
contemplative,
like
thoughtful, always pondering, always. I'm looking at you right now. I'm like, boy, what deep?
Well, I'm watching the
when
cat.
He's like watching the cat.
No, this is amazing. In the background, the cat is trying to swat.
I'm like
the candle.
Like,
he just burned himself.
I'm sitting here thinking Joe's got something. He's thinking something deep, and you're watching the cat lick its paw.
But anyways, in day-to-day real life, Joe's sort of the exact opposite. He's a complete like jokester, lighthearted. I mean, the opposite of me, basically, but like the way that what he puts out there all the time when he's writing and his photos and that kind of thing is much more like serious and spare. And,
how long have you guys been friends?
7 or 8 years,
8 or 9 years. Yeah. It's 2008. Yeah.
And how old are you guys both?
33.
33 and
33. We're like a couple months apart.
I'm a little older.
That's creepy. But you didn't grow up on a farm, did you, Joe?
I did not.
Joe's upbringing is so different than mine, but yeah. Joe's worldly.
Well, Quinn would be upset if we didn't touch on the event. One of the reasons we wanted to get Tony in studio today was he's going to be out. Tony, you want to tell us about the opportunity everybody in Colorado has to meet you next week?
Yeah, so February 2nd on Thursday evening, I'll be speaking at the Runner's Roost Lakewood in Lakewood. I think it's in Lakewood, yeah.
Yep, in Lakewood.
And I'm not sure if there's a fun run involved or not, but I'll be showing like a short film and then giving a talk after and Q&A. And yeah, I think there'll be like product tables there from La Sportiva,
probably
some Stance socks, and Ultimate.
Let's go ahead and promise beer, even though we don't know. Yeah, right on. So if people want to hear you talk, what are you going to be talking about?
Probably the long speed triathlon.
Yeah, right on.
Because there's like a little 7-minute edit that Sportiva put out on that this past fall.
They got to get you a faster partner next time, man. He was dragging ass.
Yeah, that's a horrible part about that film. Stefan is such a better athlete than me.
Is he really?
Oh, he's a really accomplished climber. Yeah, he's. So I mean, just for context sake, like Stefan went back 5 days later and soloed that route on his own. He's a strong climber.
That is hilarious. So, yeah, when you watch the video, you're just left with like, oh, this haphazard partner they put this guy with. He's
no, Stefan,
dragging the team down.
Yeah, so Stefan is. Well, he was the previous record holder, but just with a different partner.
Oh, this is Stefan, the Naked Edge Stefan?
Exactly. Yeah, Stefan Grable. Yeah,
he's a badass.
Exactly. Yeah. No, this is what people need to know. He's a total like underground shredder too. He's like electrical engineer. Has 3 kids and a wife.
Oh,
and,
hell yeah.
Naked Edge speed record holder. Had the speed records on the first and third flat iron for a long time. Like he's a really good athlete. But yeah, we ended up taking. I guess 45 minutes or so off of his previous record, basically because we went a lot faster on the bike in the run than
Nice.
he did with his previous partner. But
I did notice you had gears on that bike. I didn't like that.
well, my knees necessitated. My IT bands have been all.
Joe, what do we
messed up.
think about the gears? Come on, right?
Joe has gears on
Suck
his
it up.
bike. It just looks like he doesn't have gears on his
Yeah.
bike.
Another thing
because
we don't know about Joe, he does have geared bikes.
No, I do. I have a roll off, which is actually 14 gears.
Nice.
So internal hub system in the back. So it's
Stealth mode. Dig it.
It does look like you're on a single speed.
Yeah. But no.
But you're not.
Well, listen, I know you need to get up early, Tony, because you've got a climbing date with Wade Morris.
Right.
Before we let you go, you need to tell us about that. So you got yourself some injuries from running probably a little too much, and so now you're mixing it up. You're a skier, you're a rock climber, you're a cyclist. I think you say the cycling is the thing you're the least good at. You're
no.
going out ice climbing
Least good at
tomorrow.
skiing.
So yeah, what's going on? You're just catching the bug for everything.
Yeah.
You're like Corey Fain. He's like, he's stoked on everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty stoked on everything in terms of getting outside for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I've always had a high level interest in climbing, but I've always just been running too much to be able to focus on it and spend time trying to improve at it. Running takes a lot of energy. Climbing takes a lot of energy. It's hard to do both well at the same time. So being injured the last couple of years has given me that kind of space to pursue that stuff. So yeah, I mean, ice climbing with Wade in the morning. It's just all the best mountains in the world require swinging a tool. So
is that part of it? You've got some bigger plans ahead?
yeah, eventually.
Yeah, you
we'll
thinking
see.
Denali?
Maybe, I don't know.
All right,
Not
we're trying to break news.
That sounds
here,
like
people.
a yes.
Quinn, does that sound like a yes? Oh, yeah. Yeah, Quinn says yes.
I mean, yeah, it's just one of those. The Alaska is like an incredible place. It's sort of like the convenient way to go to the Himalayas instead of flying, to Nepal. It's a lot easier to get to Alaska than Nepal.
Would you take this guy with you? I mean, your best friend's got to go with you to Denali, right?
Joe might have to climb a little more first.
Yeah, Joe, are you going to start climbing?
Well, Joe climbs, but
No, I climb.
For
but
real? Are you going to get your head in the game so you can go up Denali with your buddy?
Well, it's not so much about that. It's more just about, what your body can do in the moment. And I can run right now. And
which I can't do.
and Tony can. No,
Right.
so you kind of adjust your objectives and sort of based on what your body can do. And yeah, I'm excited about some running this year. And but I do like to climb a lot too. It's just you can only do so much and only specialize in so much, especially over the course of a season.
Yeah.
And for big projects like that, you really have to plan specifically for that, which would mean I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, like Wade and Jason were doing a little mini on just their preparation for Denali. I mean, they've been really planning this for years and the training that they've been putting in, and they're varying up what they're doing. And you couldn't be the top of your game at ultra running and be preparing for Denali.
Yeah, it's like I was saying. It's just you can't do it.
You got to pick.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you want to be racing and doing well. Like,
and you're not in racing shape, so you can just play.
I mean, if I was able to run, I would be in racing shape. Yeah,
Right.
but I'm been injured for 10 months straight. So yeah. But that's exactly Like I'm not able to focus on running. So shift.
How do you feel like climbing compares to ultra running? Do you get I haven't done any climbing yet, so this is a naive question. Do you get the same kind of feeling when you're on your way up to a vista, or is it just a totally different experience?
I mean, it's the same in that they're both done outside. It depends. There's so many different kinds of climbing too. You can boulder, which is like super simple and clean.
But you're into scrambling would be your like preferred way to climb, wouldn't it?
It's a really nice way to climb because it's so clean and simple.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, and it's the most similar to running in that you kind of achieve this flow state where you feel really engaged with your surroundings and really, in control and that kind of thing.
And that's
But-
not what trad climbing. It looks not for
Yeah,
me. It
that's-
doesn't feel like
that's
that
what
at
I'm getting
all.
at.
Yeah.
Like, is it, can you just
Climbing-
kind of, like,
I
zone
find climbing
out
more
and just-
stressful than running.
No, it's way
For
more
me,
stressful.
yeah.
It's just scarier. Yeah, of course.
You got to be
Um,
always concentrating. You
even
got to
when you-
remember your knots. You got to remember how to do
Yeah.
the anchor. Like you could die.
Well, you just and
None
you
of that in
can't
ultra running.
and you can't become lackadaisical about that stuff either. I guess it's like, oh, with experience, with experience you get used to that stuff and you get used to like the kind of the systems you have to go through, but you can't lose focus on that because it's so easy to die. Then you're in a vertical world and but it's similar. But you can do with alpine climbing, you do really really big days that are very similar to long races where you're just like out, putting out a lot of effort.
Alex
and
Honnold
focus
is
on
doing
that.
ultra climbing for sure.
Yeah, I mean he's done some big link ups. Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of big stuff. That is very similar to like a 50 or 100-mile race.
Yeah.
Where you're just like you're worked afterwards. Yeah.
So what's coming up 2017? Give us some good excuses to check back with you guys, Joe. You mentioned you're going to Italy for some running.
Yeah, so Tour de Géant in September, and then I'm actually got into Hard Rock.
Oh, nice.
This year, so
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I'm
right
doing,
on.
those would be my 2 racing objectives.
I forgot you were in
Yeah.
that again.
Right on.
Going back.
And Tony?
It all depends on the health of my legs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's sort of the determining factor because
Are
like,
you like writing up plans now for like cool trips that would have good stories, like multi-sport type things? Is that kind of what you're doing right now? Or is it really more just dependent on?
It depends. Like I would totally race UTMB this year if my knee comes around. But in the meantime, I'll be focusing
The Mont Blanc race.
Right. Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc in Chamonix. But in the meantime, I'll be continuing to try to become a more competent climber and a better skier and
I guess you're
conti-
racing a bit of ski.
yeah, we're doing a bunch of ski races actually.
Yeah.
Ski races, like
yeah,
Skimo, or
Mm-hmm.
are you doing the Cosmic Series?
Yep.
Oh, nice. We'll see you guys out there for all the Cosmic Series. Beautiful.
Oh, are you going to like all the races? Or?
Probably not all of them. My birthday is February 8th, so I'm thinking definitely that Wednesday night. I want to be out under the lights.
Oh, you mean the Eldora races?
Yeah,
up
Eldora.
of the
Yeah.
Oh,
Nighthawk
no, you're
stuff,
talking
yeah.
about up in the mountains.
Well, those and so the first one's like tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But the Cosmic Series across, it's like New Mexico and Colorado, basically.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's more your level. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Nighthawk stuff's super cool too. At least
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool introduction, at least, to the whole concept of like, light and skinny skis and transitions and trying really hard and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and
but-
they've added Taos as a partner race. So last
Oh,
year was
nice.
an individual race.
yeah, so we're doing 3 races together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You're doing partner races.
Yeah, so we'll do
Excellent.
Taos and Power 4, and then the Grand Traverse.
And the Grand Traverse, and you'll see Jason out there, I think, with Eric Sanders, maybe.
Alright.
Eileen, I know you're itching to ask these guys some questions.
No.
Have you two ever been in direct competition with each other during a race?
Yeah. No, just back in December, we did a Skimo race and Joe beat me by 4 minutes. First time he's ever beat me in a race.
Any running races?
Is that true? Have you dropped out of races where I finished?
Which one?
I don't know. I'm sure they're.
We'll get our research
I've only dropped
department
out.
on this
I've only dropped
stat.
out 100.
Any races
We
that
need to
these
do
two
some
have been
fact
in?
checking here.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
I was just saying we need to do some fact checking.
Oh yeah. I
How
don't
many
know
times have you, would you say, just
I
a
feel like
handful that you've competed against each other?
I mean, the only time I can think of is Transgran Canaria. There must have been something before that.
Oh, I've been to that amazing island.
Oh, you have you? Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's a really cool island because there's race we've done on La Palma as well, Transvolcania, which is not nearly as nice.
I have another question about the concept of competition. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between the feeling of competition when you're doing something self-propelled for, just say, an FKT versus competition during a race?
I mean, I'm inherently not a very competitive person. I just
You guys are yin and yang. You're competitive, aren't you, Tony?
Oh yeah. No, I'm the opposite of that.
no, and so I don't really feel. I mean, I'm definitely competitive against myself, and I definitely like to, get the best out of myself. And sometimes there are races or events where competition really helps push you sort of harder. But generally speaking, I wouldn't think of like, oh, I have to kind of beat this guy at this race. I would just want to be like, run the best race I can. And You know, if I'm in the mix and there's like, I'm gonna race, you know. So if I'm in the mix and, you know, you're pushing at the end, I'll try my best, but it's not something that really, I don't think fundamentally like drives me, you know. Certainly not in training or anything like that. I won't think like, oh, I need to be, you know.
And do you get out and do the FKT? Do you do the FKT? I mean, obviously you did the 14ers, but are you out there doing these shorter kind of FKT pursuits?
Yeah, I mean, same kind of thing. I'm just like, I care about time in the sense that if you can do stuff fast, you know, it broadens the scope of what you can do. You know, something like the triathlon, it's interesting because it can be done in a pretty, you know, condensed amount of time.
Because
hours to bike to Long's Peak and climb it and bike back.
But I mean,
there's something about sort of operating on that sort of, you know, kind of upper end of sort of your.
Well, think of how much gear the normal person would have to bring to do that.
Well, see, that's exactly it. It's like like a week before Steph and I did that, we just did a lap on the diamond. You know, we drove to the trailhead, but we were done by 9:30. Like most people are like
rolling out of bed.
Well, no, but like to climb the diamond, car to car takes, you know, it's like a 12-hour thing for a lot of people, which is like doing pretty well actually. A lot of people will bivvy at the base, you know. But Stefano was like able to go into work that morning still, you know. And so it's just like it just insane. So that the speed thing just like lets you get more out of life.
But I think it's also not like to me, like what I was trying to get at is more just like what your personal experience is, you know, the one that's good, you know. And if you want to experience the mountain, you know, sitting and just like looking at it, you know, that's a great thing. You know, I don't think it's like for me, it's just you set the context for yourself, and then you kind of go out and, you know, express yourself and get sort of out of it what you want, you know. And so I don't think there's a more sort of valid way to do it. It's more just kind of, you know, what I guess we like to do, you know.
Yeah, I think there's often a misconception that because you approach something in a certain style or a certain way, that you're then judging someone else who's doing it differently.
Totally.
And I hate that. It's like, no, just because I like to do it this way doesn't mean I think you're a lesser human being for doing it a different way. You know, I mean, unless you're burning fossil fuels, but you know,
no, I mean, there's exceptions to stuff, you know. I mean, obviously, there's, but
like if you're hiking a trail versus running a trail, I don't think that makes you a lesser person. You know?
Yeah, and I was telling Corey, like what we like to do is, you know, commit to some challenges. So when we learned about adventure racing over at Farrell Mountain last year with Eric Sanders, and Corey committed to doing an adventure race, I said, hey, no one's going to judge you if you know, do the 6-hour option. But no, he was adamant, 24 hours.
I judged you for doing the 6 hour. No,
I'm
just kidding.
There was judgment. You see,
not at all.
I felt judged, but that was okay. I had a good.
And
excuse.
also, I only made it 17 out of the 24 hours.
Did you make it that many? I thought it was like.
I mean,
less.
That's the best measure of progress that
Cameron,
I can spin it as. We didn't make
Cameron
it very far.
Puts the Alpine in MacAlpine. He's going to look that up and fact check that as well. Guys, it's been a pleasure to have you on. If you want to meet Tony, talk to him, come out to the. Remind us of the event there, Tony.
Yeah, so it's next Thursday, February 2nd at Runners Roost Lakewood at 6 p.m.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.